Forget everything you think you know about corporate warfare. This isn't just a business story. This is the $25 billion epic of ego, greed, and high-stakes betrayal that redefined American capitalism forever. In the autumn of 1988, two titans stood ready to tear an industrial empire apart. On one side, F. Ross Johnson, the charismatic CEO of RJR Nabisco, a conglomerate so vast it owned everything from Oreos to Camel cigarettes. He planned to buy his own company in what would be the biggest, most audacious deal in history. On the other, the quiet, calculating predator, Henry Kravis of KKR, the master of the leveraged buyout, ready to show the world what true, cold-blooded financial power looked like. This is the untold story of the 1980s. Welcome back to Book in 20, where we break down the most powerful books on business, psychology, career, and success, transforming decades of wisdom into minutes of actionable insight. Let's dive in. This great untold story was captured in the legendary book, Barbarians at the Gate. It's a drama that played out in mahogany boardrooms, on private jets, and across a sleepless, hyper-caffeinated Wall Street. It's a battle of egos that created a financial earthquake whose tremors we still feel today. If you want to understand power, negotiation, and the ruthless realities of the modern business world, this is a must-watch. So, do me a favor right now, smash that like button. It helps us bring you more world-class business narratives like this one. And stick around, because we're about to open the gate and walk inside. Part 1. The Players and the Weapon. The CEO's Hubris, F. Ross Johnson. Our story begins with a man who had everything and wanted more, Ross Johnson. He was the ultimate corporate CEO of the 80s. Charming, a big spender, living a life of utter excess. He ran RJR Nabisco not like a business, but like a personal fiefdom, complete with multiple corporate jets and lavish golf retreats. His strategy for the company? Keep merging, keep growing, and keep the shareholders happy with his stock price. But underneath all that polish, Johnson saw a massive opportunity. His own company was undervalued. He saw a chance to take it private and make himself and his executive team unimaginably rich. The tool he planned to use was the Leveraged Buyout, or LBO. In simple terms, an LBO is a way to buy a company primarily using borrowed money, often with the target company's own assets as collateral. You saddle the company with enormous debt, then pay it off by aggressively cutting costs or selling off divisions. Johnson's management team would put in a tiny fraction of the cash, but walk away with the lion's share of the restructured company. This plan was a lightning rod. It immediately pitted management, who should be stewards of the company, against the very shareholders they were supposed to serve. A hunter arrives, Henry Kravis. Johnson's initial plan was to get a friendly deal done quietly. But when the details of his massive personal golden parachute, a $250 million payout for himself, leaked, it was a shot across the bow. It alerted the Barbarians to the city's riches. Enter Henry Kravis of KKR. Kravis was the original LBO king, a master architect of debt-fueled deals. To him, Johnson's internal bid wasn't just a challenge, it was an insult, an invitation to a fight he could not refuse. Kravis and his team swooped in, offering a higher price. The battle was officially joined, and the price tag began to climb toward the stratosphere. Think about this for a second. Johnson was trying to use insider knowledge for personal gain. That's a huge lesson in corporate governance. Comment below and tell us which country you're watching from. Are these kinds of deals common where you are? Let's get a global perspective. Part 2. The Bidding War and the Drama. What followed was one of the most intense, sleep-deprived, and savagely competitive bidding wars in financial history. It wasn't just KKR against Ross Johnson's management team. It was a dizzying array of investment banks, law firms and other players all scrambling for a piece of the massive record-breaking fees. A key component of this frenzy was the financing, largely fueled by junk bonds, high-yield, high-risk debt that Michael Milken had made a terrifyingly effective tool. The ability to raise immense amounts of debt this way transformed M&A from a careful corporate dance into a brutal, all-or-nothing brawl. The stakes were so high that people weren't just risking money, they were risking their entire careers, their reputations, and their sanity. Ego over economics. The book meticulously details how the deal quickly transcended any rational economic decision-making. It became a pure battle of ego. T.A. Johnson's team, driven by the desire for their golden parachute, kept raising their bid, ignoring the crippling debt their own company would face. Kravis, equally unwilling to lose the biggest deal of his career, would not be outbid. The final 2 rounds of bidding were conducted in an all-night pressure cooker environment, where firms were literally running up a debt-laden price tag until their fingers bled. The sheer exhaustion and psychological warfare led to mistakes, leaks, and double dealings that the authors, Brian Burrow and John Heliar, capture with the drama of a thriller novel. This is the kind of insight that separates average investors from strategic thinkers. If you're getting value from this breakdown, make sure you're subscribed and have hit the notification bell. We dive this deep into a classic business book every single week. Don't miss the next one. Part 3, The Verdict and the Themes. The Fall of the CEO. The climax came when Henry Kravis's KKR emerged victorious, winning RJR Nabisco with a stunning final bid of $25 billion. It was the largest corporate takeover in history at the time. Ross Johnson lost. His ultimate prize, the golden parachute, was stripped away by a furious board, embarrassed by his excesses. The corporate jet fleet was sold off. The lavish lifestyle ended. Johnson, the archetype of the Imperial CEO, had fallen, a victim of his own hubris and greed. The story of RJR Nabisco is the perfect lens through which to examine the core themes of modern capitalism. 1. Greed and excess. The book is a cautionary tale about the insatiable appetite for wealth on Wall Street in the 80s. The players were disconnected from the actual products, the cookies, the crackers, the cigarettes. They were just numbers on a spreadsheet, assets to be traded. 2. The rise of financial engineering. Barbarians shows how the LBO and the use of junk bonds shifted power from the old-school corporate managers to the financial engineers of private equity. It proved that you could conquer established companies with sheer leverage. 3. Corporate governance failure. The board of RJR Nabisco failed spectacularly. They allowed their CEO to run wild with company resources and only reacted when the deal, and Johnson's self-serving motives, was too public to ignore. The book forces us to ask, who truly controls a public company? The managers, the board, or the capital markets? There are so many classic lines in this book. One of my favorites is Kravis's famous quote, "We need to push the barbarians back from the city gates." Tell me in the comments, what is your favorite quote or most shocking moment from the book? I read every single comment. Part 4. Practical applications for your career and business. Beyond the scandal and the drama, Barbarians at the Gate is a masterclass in business strategy, negotiation, and leadership. Here are the 3 most critical lessons you can apply to your career and your business today. 1. The power of due diligence and real money. Kravis won because he ultimately backed his strategy with credible, powerful financing. Johnson's plan looked good on paper, but when the pressure was on, his bank alliances were revealed as softer, less committed. In any negotiation, especially when raising capital or making a major purchase, your financial backing must be unquestionable. Don't rely on shaky alliances or promises. The Barbarians showed that leverage is a weapon, but only if the capital behind it is solid. For your career, don't just show up with an idea, show up with a fully costed, fully funded, and thoroughly vetted execution plan. 2. Intangibles always matter in negotiation. This entire deal was not won purely on price. It was won on optics, trust, and reputation. Ross Johnson's blatant greed, the excessive spending, the massive golden parachute, infuriated the RJR board, costing him the deal even when his offer was competitive. A reputation is an asset. When you negotiate, remember, you are negotiating future relationships. Johnson's lack of transparency and his perceived betrayal of the company. Stakeholders cost him the one thing money couldn't buy, the board's trust. For your business, in any partnership or client deal, the how you negotiate can be more important than the what you negotiate. Play fair and build trust. It's your most valuable non-financial asset. 3. Leadership is stewardship, not entitlement. Johnson's downfall is the ultimate cautionary tale for leaders. He confused company resources with personal entitlement. The book highlights how his lavish spending created a culture of resentment and a weak defense when the corporate raiders attacked. This is a timeless lesson for every leader. Your role as a CEO, manager, or team leader is to be a steward of the company's capital, not its owner. Extravagant excess breeds cynicism and damages employee morale. In your career, if you're aiming for the top, remember that true leadership is marked by accountability and a focus on long-term value for all stakeholders, not just short-term gains for yourself. Conclusion. The leveraged buyout of RJR Nabisco was more than a financial transaction. It was a cultural moment that pulled back the curtain on the ruthless, high-octane world of 1980s finance. It's a gripping story that teaches us about the fragility of corporations, the intoxicating power of debt, and the never-ending battle between Main Street and Wall Street. If you've enjoyed this deep dive, you are exactly the kind of strategic thinker we want in our community. 1. Hit that like button right now if you learned something new. 2. Subscribe to the channel for more business classics broken down for the modern world. 3. And before you go, check the description below. We've linked to a free resource that breaks down the top 5 power plays from Barbarians at the Gate that you can use in your next major negotiation. Go download it now. Thank you for watching. Don't go anywhere. We're dropping new videos next week that you won't want to miss. See you in the comments.